I have elaborated on why it's stupid that people like Jockmaster from Smashboards would call me the cancer of Smash without thinking it possibly ironic. Namely, people like him and his friends are the ones who are the cancer of Smash because they just want to create a soulless breeding ground for overthinking. But you know what? It's not just the Smash community that's a cancer, it's the fighting game communities, period, that are the cancer of video games. Why? Let's see if I can get through this rant without getting too upset. Even though some of the stuff that proves their FOS are downright rage-inducing from the sheer lack of logic behind them. Now, first and foremost, they will no doubt start calling me a scrub just because I'm ranting about this. But this only leads into the first bit of idiocy, namely their intolerance-fueled hypocrisy. The fighting game community set up rules for what you may and may not do in-game, and arrogantly believe that they're completely sound. This already makes them scrubs by their very definition. The Kid Icarus Uprising community is a perfect example, as they have seen fit to ban Super Armor. Super Armor is needed to make Power Guys balanced. Without it, they're taking unconditional flinching. But hey, that's fine. Let's have a metagame where you're punished so severely for ever getting hit. Please don't care about this nice little thing you have called a life bar, because hit points totally wasn't created to improve the exploration aspect of a game by letting you survive the chaos of it. Oh look, now those idiots complain about being hit by homing attacks, which are supposed to manage to hit. Oh, I don't know, maybe more evasive targets? They fail by their own darwinistic standards to begin with if they're taking so much issue with anything that hits them. I'd be surprised if they could shrug off a basketball colliding with a certain place on their body where any attack certainly stings. I could put them in a capital ship and they'd complain about machine gun fire. Now let's be saying that the fighting game communities aren't actually making halfway sound rules. The fact is, they're still banning some things from competition. They're creating house rules. They're still admitting that the game is imbalanced on some level. They have no right to act like it isn't. And yet, if they weren't doing that, this rant wouldn't even exist. An imbalanced game is incapable of properly testing skill because it makes character selection just a non-indicative handicap rather than, alright, an expression of self. Variety means more when it has speed that needs to be tanked out, but the reverse is more true as well. Namely, that speed without variety results in overfavoring of body advantages through nothing to contest them. They're hypocritical and they're being intolerant. And the next problem is the mere fact that they're intolerant anyway. If you ever lose, even if the reasons behind your loss is the result of the game itself being stupid, you don't get to complain. This despite the fact that the winner gets to be a jerkhole by bragging about his win even when he wins only by a clear-cut imbalance that went in his favor. But forget the abrasive hypocrisy there because it's self-explanatory. The mere banning of complaining by the quote-unquote loser is shallow. It may have its basis of setting a baseline standard, but it has the problems that complaints about an imbalance can just as easily be genuine, and generally having some sound basis anyway. As a blatant example, in fighting games, you can input for a 1 or 2 input move, and it won't come out if you're interrupted by attack stun, which is provided by, every attack ever. This means that if you're slower by even a tiny bit, you're going to lose. Period. And God forbid you complain about lag, which comes out of nowhere and can cripple your momentum at the worst possible time anyway. And don't claim I'm complaining because I, quote-unquote, suck. Your games are, as I pointed out earlier, not paragons of balance at all. They generally fail the armor test for starters, usually criteria 3 thanks to the unconditional flinching, but any of the other 4 criteria can just as easily be failed miserably. You can point out that, hey, I'm not fast, I should be punished brutally for that, and I don't get to complain. Let's see why that line of logic fails miserably. Number one, that logic means that the game should only care about body advantages. It castrates the strategic factor of a game. Number two, hey, guess what? Kids aren't going to be fast either. I forget, who are games designed for? Oh right, the kids themselves. Number three, not being fast hasn't stopped me from being good at games like Battalion Wars and Kingdom Rush, both of which demand on-the-fly microing by their very design. Here's the key factor. Those two games even bother to care about the armor test. Kid Icarus Uprising tries, and that's how I've been able to work in that game too, but its bouncing handler is ultimately so poor. Oh, but these are different games I'm talking about. I shouldn't be talking about them at all. Even without the shallowness behind that sentiment, it's hypocritical for them to go by that point. Namely, the fighting game communities compare their own games to chess. Here's the innate problem with that. Chess is turn-based. The fighting game communities punish you for caring about anything but body advantages or overthinking. Comparing them to something that demands working process infinitely more is beyond stupid. And while I'm on the subject of chess, I need to rant about how so many games try too hard to mimic chess. Chess is a game designed to bounce about around one-hit point wonders in order to strengthen the importance of positioning and be downright unforgiving to anybody who makes a mistake. It's a board game blatantly designed to focus on the aspect of strategy and tactics. It may not suit my taste because of the one-hit point wonder business, but it follows its purpose and it is outright honest about how okay you should be with taking hits and whatnot. Chess also balances its fragile speedster, the bishop, by basically restricting each bishop to the spaces the same color as its starting space, which means that taking one bishop cripples the owner's color control. Compared to fighting game, which gives you a life bar. And oh look, whoever hits first wins instantly. Are you kidding me? And unlike chess, the weakness of fragile speedsters are irrelevant. Nobody is going to care about power deficiency when every attack basically kills you in one hit. At least with bishops in chess, you can have guys stay out the same color spaces when momentum is even a problem. That potentially not being the case is because I'm looking at pawns getting in the way, batteries, that sort of stuff. In fighting games, speedsters have no such weakness. All that tries to check them is slowing down their damage per second, but when they win instantly by hitting once anyway, that becomes irrelevant. The whole problem with mimicking chess, in and of itself, is that chess is a skill-focused board game. It has no active need to bother rewarding affinity for its intent. The games that try to mimic chess have no excuse. Chess already comes under fire because of memorization shenanigans. Bobby Fischer himself created a chess variant out of annoyance with that hotspot. Can't say I blame him honestly. But still, the point is, if chess, an all-time classical game, isn't perfect, what makes the game developers of their own games that try to mimic it that think that their own games are? And by the way, oh look, Bobby Fischer, within the top 3 of all chess players, is still wanting to create his own variant. He admits the very game he is skilled at has unwelcome imbalances. That sort of humility you'd never see in fighting game communities. That's the point. Nobody wants to play fighting games, not because of overcomplicated stupidity and general newbie unfriendliness. That does not add to the depth. Much of that doesn't help. But because the user base is cruel in and of itself. So I'm back to making my own game. I'm thankfully coming up with some ideas for handling the armor test. I know that thing sets a working baseline standard that fighting games and games like Days of Ruin could only dream of.